everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori Brame. Thank you for being here. So, back on Wellbutrin. So for those of you who do not know, I was on Wellbutrin for about 14 months, give or take, a couple days, I guess. And I was on it. It was absolutely amazing, and I do genuinely believe that it cured my depression. Cured it, completely cured it. And I say that because I got off of it in February of this year. Right now it is late July, and during that entire time I did not have any relapses of depression. And before I actually scored in the severe category, before I got on any antidepressants, I scored in the severe category where it was a dark time in my life. I was really bottomed out. And I actually did a video before I got on anything, which I'll link it below. You can go back and watch if you're really curious about like how low was she. Very, very low. So I got off of it and everything was going great. Everything was like so peachy keen, except for the minor, very small issue of my ADHD. So, you know, rabbit trail down that road. So when I was 20 years old, I went to the doctor, and I had moved out of my parents' house. I had moved 5 states away. I had my own job, I had my own apartment, and I was doing pretty well, except I was just stressed. Like, I was stressed out of my mind all the time. And so I went to the doctor, and you know, it was a checkup. Like, I didn't even go for meds. And the doctor noticed that I was crying in the doctor's office, and it was a checkup. And so she was like, can I like run a few psychological tests, like maybe? And I was like, sure, do whatever you want to me. And so she ran a test, and you know, it was for anxiety. And she was like, okay, you're scoring really high on anxiety. And then she did another one for depression, and she's like, your depression is there too. You know, usually when I see girls your age exhibiting these kind of symptoms, they have ADHD. Do you mind if I run another test for ADHD? And so at this point, I'm just a mess, a complete mess. I've been dyslexic my whole life. I had real issues in school. Even now, like, my reading is, you know, mediocre at best, So she ran a test on ADHD, and it was real bad, like real bad. And she was just like, okay, so either we can start you on antidepressants and anxiety medication, or we can just treat the ADHD and see if everything else goes away. And so I was like, well, treat the ADHD, obviously. So they put me on Adderall, and Adderall was absolutely amazing. I felt calm, I felt focused, everything was great, except I started getting migraines from it, and I had no interest in sleeping, eating, talking to people. Like, I was basically a hermit on it. I like didn't have time for people. I'm already kind of an introvert, but when it comes to being on something that makes me like lose interest in humanity, like, I wasn't super into that. And so I got off of it. I think I was on it just like for a few months. And so I got off of it, and it was totally fine. Well, of course, then the depression, anxiety, everything like that came back, you know, and then life happened. Like, I got engaged, and then I got another job, and, you know, it was like I went back to school, and, you know, I learned like healthy study habits and stuff like that. So I kind of like forgot about the fact that I had ADHD. And then 2021, my depression was ridiculously bad, and so I went on this whole journey, which, you know, lucky for you guys, I documented all of it, and apparently it's still going because here I am again, where I tried Bupropion, Hydroxyzine, Zoloft, Lexapro, Wellbutrin, ding 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 ding. Wellbutrin worked really well. I was on 300 milligrams for most of the time. I went up to 450 at one point because I was a moron. You can watch that video too, I'll link it below. And then I went down to 300. I was completely stable for about 6 months, like no relapses, everything was great. And I was like, well, maybe I don't need this anymore. And so I was able to wean myself off of it. Once I did that, you know, I was like a little bit panicky at first. Like, I was really jittery. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't handle, and I had no relapses of depression. So I was really excited about that. When I got off of it, probably a month or two after I got off of it, I started getting really bad ADHD symptoms, like really bad. Like most of my day was looking for whatever I just had in my hand. I would find my tripod in random places. I would, like, there was no finding my coffee. Like, I had no idea where I put my coffee in the morning. And that was causing issues at work, where I couldn't stay focused on a task. I had like 11 unfinished projects going at one time. And you know, when you're a manager, like that is not great because people are always asking you questions. The phone's always ringing. Somebody needs something from you. And so if you have all these things that are going on at the same time and you can't finish a single one because you can't focus long enough to get it done, that is stressful. And so I was really stressed out there for a while, you know, just with all that stuff going on. And it actually came to a head when I was on the phone with my boss. There was something going on that she like needed information about right away. And my boyfriend was walking next to me and he was opening a package. It wasn't loud. I could hear her perfectly. We were outside, like it wasn't loud at all. But the crinkle, I couldn't focus on what she was saying. Like I literally could not focus. Again, it wasn't loud, like it wasn't drowning her out. It was just something else in my attention that was like overpowering. And so I was like, all right, well, I need to get on meds again because this isn't okay. I don't feel like I can function. I'm frustrated with myself all the time. I was crying more, like it was just so frustrating. And then sometimes I straight up could not read. It was like I would look at something and nothing was making sense to me. It may as well have been in Greek. And it was rough. So I went to the doctor. And she comes in and she was like, so why did you get off Wellbutrin? Well, I should back up. I first spoke to her like student in training or whatever who was absolutely amazing. And she took like a symptom history and everything like that. And I told her I did not like Adderall at all. And so my doctor came in, she's like, so why did you get off Wellbutrin? And I'm like, I didn't need it anymore for depression. Like I was totally fine and I still feel fine as far as depression. But my ADHD is like awful. Like I feel like a crazy person. And she was like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. So we have some options here. And so she just kind of listed off different options. She was like, honestly, since you had a bad reaction to Adderall, you didn't like how that made you feel, I don't want to put you on another stimulant. And she's like, you've had success with Wellbutrin for another thing, for the depression, but maybe if you just get on 150 milligrams, it'll help with the ADHD. And so, you know, number one, I feel like an absolute moron because like, of course it would get worse once I got off of it, like duh. But you don't know until you know. And so now I know. And so I am back on 150 milligrams. My doctor and I are going to reconvene at 60 days, make sure it's working well. I can already feel a huge difference as far as my ADHD symptoms. I don't know if I'll go back to up to 300 or not. It's kind of crazy because like, I am getting on it for the second time for a completely different set of symptoms. Like the first time, I just wanted to sleep all the time. I had no desire to get out of bed in the morning. Like, I mean, bed is comfortable, don't get me wrong. I still like staying in bed, but it was different. It was like I was afraid to face my day. I did not want to get out of bed. And then now I'm coming at it because I can't find my freaking keys. And, you know, like weird stuff ends up in the fridge and I'm tired of dropping balls. Like I'm tired of dropping the ball at work and dropping the ball at home and, you know, all this stuff. And so it's interesting getting back on it for a different symptom. So far it's going great. I've been on it for a week. So you know how it goes. I'll let you guys know. Yeah. So far I'm a fan of Wellbutrin, 150 milligrams for ADHD. If you have ADHD and Wellbutrin is helping you, please let me know. I love seeing interaction in the comments because, you know, the more comments we have, the more people we can help because then they can read the comments and see other people and know that they're not alone. So all that to say, I'm back on Wellbutrin because I have ADHD and I am a woman in my 30s, and that is not okay because I'm employed and a mom. So I hope you guys are doing well and I will talk to you later. Bye.